It's election season and Couillard Shores needs a new mayor. A significant number of the movers and shakers in the area are really lobbying for Chief Tim Keequam to run for office. The Chippewa lumber and Ojibwa organics have been significant boons to the city, raising the quality of life for everyone in the community, not just tribal members, and that's all thanks to Chief Keequam. And because of this, he's become a larger-than-life figure that is well respected by almost everyone in the community. His opponent, Ben Begay, is employed at the lumber company and has stated that he has nothing but admiration for Tim, something that really hasn't helped his campaign much. He's mainly running to ensure that the community's power isn't concentrated within the hands of a single person. The campaign is cordial, with both candidates running on a platform of paving roads and providing the industries whatever they need to keep developing. Ultimately, Chief Keequam wins the election with 85% of the vote and begins work on fulfilling his campaign promises. Today, we're going to pave some of the roads within the community and work to expand both industries while attempting to reach our next population milestone. We'll also tackle a couple of fixes from your recommendations near the end, so be sure to stick with me through the entire episode. And if you enjoy content like this, if you could, please hit the like button and leave a comment. It really helps spread the reach of the video. And with that, let's jump right in. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building Couillard Shores in Nicolet Bay, and today we are going to start fulfilling some of those campaign promises that Chief Keequam made. We're going to upgrade a number of roads to be paved. We are going to expand both of our industries to try to generate more revenue to pay for all of that roadway enhancement work that we're going to be doing. And to build our industries up, we're going to need to expand our residential a bit. So I'm excited to do that, and at the very end, I'm going to respond to a couple of your some of the feedback that you provided, and I'm really excited to do that. So let's jump right in. And the very first place we're going to upgrade is right along here, right in the heart of Couillard Shore. At this point, I think that this would be something that would be an absolute necessity. The other thing I'm noticing is, oh boy, we've got some things happening here. It looks like I didn't delete my trees, which is something I'm going to try to focus on in this build. So we'll take care of that quickly. And now we're going to come over here and start upgrading some things. And I'm going to be really thoughtful about this because I could really destroy a lot if I leave collision on. And that is something I absolutely want to avoid. So we are going to really be thoughtful about it. And then at the same time have to look and see if I did delete some stuff, because obviously we have things popping out. So in this area right here in particular, and really all throughout the city, we're going to need to make sure that we're maintaining on-street parking. I think that in a town this size, that would be something that people would think about a lot. So that rules out our 2-lane road with wide sidewalks. There's no parking there. It also rules out any of our 2-lane roads with grass or our median roads. The only one that we can do to maintain parking is actually this 2-lane road right here. So that's going to be disappointing in certain areas, but we've got a fix, and I will show it in just a moment after we upgrade all of these roads. I'm leaving collision off so that I don't destroy a bunch of buildings, because there are certain areas where if I turn this on, I have a sneaking suspicion. Look at that. The whole fence is gone. So let's get this upgraded. Okay, so I think we're good now. Obviously, there's some more trees. Now, you might wonder why I'm getting so finicky about this whole tree thing. There's a good reason, and I need to change my play style to accommodate for it. The main reason is that if I do not start this game with tree anarchy on and with trees popping through things, I lose detailing like we had over here. So the trees that we added through here, they will disappear. They'll still be in the build, but I'll have to shake the build to make them show up. That's not something I want to do. So that just means I need to be a little more deliberate and thoughtful about the way that I'm building. So it's going to be a little painful in the beginning, but I think once I get used to it, it's going to be really, really good. And truthfully, there's not too many issues, but where you see them, please drop a note in the comments, because I want to get these fixed. So this doesn't do much in our downtown area. In fact, one of the things I don't like about what we just did is we converted the downtown to look like every other place. And I'd love to add a tree-lined street here. The problem is, again, parking, and that would be a huge concern in this area. So what we're going to do here is actually go through and use our intersection marking tool, and this is how we're going to add our trees. So you can do this by grabbing a line here. We're going to add this, and then we'll switch this over to tree. And there's only one tree that's appropriate here, and I think you know which one it is, the young linden. And obviously we don't want a row of them like this. That's a lot. Every 5 meters, there is a tree. 20 meters seems rational-ish. I'm going to move this a little bit to see if we can shift this. There we go. 19 meters gives me some decent spacing. So from here, I can shift this over and get this onto the sidewalk. So let's shift it. And we could even change the scale if we wanted this to feel really custom. Why don't we do that? Well, let's go 150. Look at that. Those are some middle-aged linden now. They're not young. So that's much better. And it looks kind of silly. They're just popping out of the sidewalks. So I think we're going to need to change that as well. I don't have any custom props for planters, so we're just going to need to figure out another option. First of all, I want to save this as a template. So that template is now linden. We've saved it. Now we're going to add another one. And we're going to need to find a prop that can do the trick for us. So let me dig through here and comb through and see if there's any props that I think could work. So we've got these barrels, and they might do the trick. Let's increase our step to 19 so it lines up with our trees. Pretty close to perfect. We'll have to shift them a little bit. We'll pull them back. And then I want to make these bigger. So they look really weird right now. We're going to change the elevation. And then I want them to be much wider. So we'll look at the scale and we'll go 150. Maybe even bigger than that, 175. Now the unfortunate thing is we are at a slope here. You might not be able to tell it, but you can tell a little bit. Still, I think from far away they look pretty darn convincing. So I'm gonna go with this. We're gonna save this one as a template too. We'll save that as planter box. So now I should be able to go over here, make another line. We will apply a template. This will be young linden. And then we'll apply another one right here. And this will be planter box. And now you can see that we have this on both sides of the road. Looking very good. Looking custom. I like that. So now we're going to grab this. And I'm going to copy this whole thing. Control-Shift-C. And now we can Control-Shift-V. And apply it. The problem here is I've got an extra node, so we're going to need to adjust that. But I'm just going to get these through here, then we'll remove that node. So to remove the node, we'll come into our unified UI and look at our network multi-tool, remove node, which is also Control-2. But again, you guys know I do not have a numpad on my keyboard. Looking good. Let's get a feel for this. Oh yeah. Our middle-aged linden are looking really good. Feeling very good. I like this a lot. That is nice. So with that, we're going to leave the rest of these without any trees. I think that you could target some locations. Like maybe you come through here and you say right here, we're okay having a median. Maybe because the parking's not super necessary right there. Now, this is going to be an interesting spot. We don't need parking down this road. So right here, we're going to switch and we'll add the median right here. We don't want parking. Let's convert this. We are going to take our young linden and add that through here. Now for this road, we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to take our highways and we're going to take our rural highway, 2-lane, and we're going to upgrade this. So this disables, first of all, this is really fast. We're going to need to change the speed, and then it disables zoning, which we might be okay with in certain locations. Think of it this way. This is an arterial, so maybe we don't care that there's zoning around here anyway. So I'll allow it right here. We're going to also convert this. I'm going to turn collision off because I think we're going to have some problems with our fences. We spent a lot of time putting our fence up and our power line. The last thing we want to do is destroy that. We'll again convert this to be a highway. We are going to take the speed and lower it here. And then right here, again, we'll go with our industrial road. I'm going to turn collision back on because I don't think it's going to matter back here. I've got anarchy on and that should be good enough. Looking good. And now we're going to need to lower the speed on some of these roads. So let's think about that right now. So 60 miles per hour is really fast. I would think that maybe we could get away with 45. This is a bit of an expressway, so I'm going to hold down shift and just convert this entire road. 45 seems fine. There aren't any sharp turns, but I want to see, are we seeing trucks tilting? I don't see anything wild, so I think we're going to go with it. We could adjust the speed, maybe we should, coming into either side of this. So that's something to think about, is that speed differential is really one of the most dangerous things that you can have on a road. So the reason we would drop the speeds here to start that reduction early would be so that the differential right here where people would be crossing wouldn't be as great as it is right now. In fact, I'll drop the speed to 30 or to 25 right there, so it's the same, and then we'll bring 35 back here. On this end, we are going to, once we hit here, this is actually 60 again. I think we're going to drop the speed to 45, and we'll drop it to 35 here. And then we have 25 right here. And in fact, let's go a bit further. There we go. Feeling very good about that. I think that that is a good improvement. We're going to need to add some junction controls and things of that nature soon as well. I don't really think that we have many. The one thing I do want to change, though, and this is what I'm nervous about because I can make some really big mistakes right now if I'm not careful. We are going to upgrade this road to be a highway. So this is something that came out in the comments a bunch. I talked about doing it at the end, but we'll just do it right now. I think it will be a good upgrade for us, or it'll be an upgrade that is realistic. So this happens, I mentioned this in the previous episode, it happens a lot in rural areas where you will have a highway with homes right on it, or just set back a little ways. Difficult to adjust setbacks now. We could have done it up front. We could have gone through and added a gap. Probably should have done this. But in the future, we'll consider that when we're doing this. Right now, we're kind of stuck. Okay, so the way that we were able to do this is going into our zoning adjuster and forcing zoning. So now I'm going to just click on force zoning, and that without force or disable zoning enabled on there, it's just whatever the default is. So if I were to try to upgrade this road again and it'll let me, it will get rid of the zoning. So we don't want to do that. But the consequence here is basically that now all of these homes don't have the ability to walk anywhere. So I think in an ideal world, maybe I would have spread these out just a bit further and I would have added the setbacks to move it back. We're going to take that into consideration for the future. But for now, I'm pretty okay with this. And I do think even over here, we need to make that conversion as well. So we'll come in here again, force zoning and upgrade. And these are spaced a little bit better. Now, I'm noticing some weird stuff over here. And this is pointed out, honestly, in the comments to episode 1, that these vehicles are turning around right here. Now, to me, this might be the crazy tourism thing happening. So Lee Hawkins actually pointed this out to me in the past, to use the crazy tourist fix to prevent this type of behavior from happening. I have a feeling if we click on this, leaving the city, tourist leaving the city, tourist driving out of the city, tourist. Okay, so I've seen all that I need to see. These are the crazy tourists. And if we look at our traffic, we're seeing it. They're all coming through here. So what we're going to do, this is not the height of realism, but I need to at least have a fix for that for now. I'm going to add in a little road coming off here, a little loop. And truthfully, in the future, I may want to do something tourism related right here anyway. It's a really nice piece of property, excellent views, excellent access to the highway, and I would expect that there would be some sort of tourism use here anyway. And we have the potential to have a really nice beach. We have to soften this a little bit, but I think that we have the potential there. So what we're going to do here is add a road. And I bet you we're going to see just boatloads of utilization here. So there we go. I have a feeling that this is going to be absolutely inundated with cars. Let's speed this up for a minute and just see if we get a whole bunch of looping here. Yeah, this stinks. This is clearly the crazy tourism issue. We could resolve this by adding in the crazy tourism fix. I added that into Clearwater County early on, and we're probably going to need to add that one mod here. That said, there are some mod consolidations that I'm likely going to be looking at soon too. So at that point in time, I will add those. But this is going to have an impact on our traffic flow. Obviously, we've got a lot of looping and slowing down here. So just something to keep in mind. We have all of this occurring right here as well. There's just crazy tourists. So just something to to keep in mind. All right. So we've made progress on our roads. I'm pretty pleased with the changes here. I think this is another road. We should probably upgrade this. Let's get to that. And these homes were actually so close to the road because it was a dirt road that to upgrade these, I had to move them back a little bit. That happens. Not the end of the world. Looks pretty good now. I dig it. I dig it a lot. All right. So we've spent a little while now not really doing much of anything outside of upgrading roads. So let's think about our build. So there was a comment from episode 2 from Celise Patra. Celise said that we really need to do something differently with our forestry industry in this build. Spread out our extractors and make this feel more natural. And I completely agree. I fell into the trap that is so easy to fall into in City Skylines, and that's just crowding things. So we should not do that. We should spread these out, and we are going to absolutely do that. We want to expand our industry too, but I want to see what we're looking at. So right here for Chippewa lumber, what we have to get to our next level, we're going to need some more workers. And we actually don't even have a large enough industry to support the number of workers that would be necessary to get to the next level. So that's a consideration. And I think we're going to look and see if we have any larger extractors at this point, because that would be a way to naturally redo this. And it looks like all we have right now are these tree sapling fields. What we're going to do is upgrade this. We're going to again force zoning. And I'm turning on anarchy so that I can get this on here. So now there's zoning on this road. And we are going to do something a little bit weird. And this is interesting. I did not expect it to be unhappy with what's happening here. So basically, I wanted to place this on the side of the road. It's not having it. So what we're going to do is upgrade this. We are going to go with just our regular city street. If it's not going to allow me to place things here, yeah, we got to do it. So that'll be our solution here. That stinks. I thought we could get away with one. I don't know why the industrial buildings wouldn't be excited about this, and we can definitely do it with residential, but it's the way the game works, and we're going to have to deal with it. So I'm moving these to the other side and rotating it around, holding down Alt, and pulling it over. And the main reason for that is that we have all these power lines here. And I like the idea of having the power line right on the side of the road here. And then we'll come through and remove the trees directly from here. We're going to plant trees in between some of these. We'll do that at the end. All right. And then I actually liked the way it looked having the saplings over here as well. So we're going to add those back over here now that we have the ability to do so. And we'll keep it a little irregular. There'll be a little offset. And now we've got a couple of options. We've got field and greenhouse. I think we're going to do mostly field, or all field, truthfully. So here it is, and we're simulating clearing this out just to add in some of these. These almost look like Christmas tree farms, and I think that that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat indeed. There we go. Now up here, we're going to spread these out once we have the chance. So now we have plenty of overhead for our workers. I'm going to speed things up a little bit, and I want to see what it's going to take to unlock the medium tree plantation. That's level 3 forestry. Large is level 5. We're not going to get there, at least not today. So if we get to 3, I'll be very happy. And then at 3, we can also have our large lumber yard. And really, that's about it. So at this point, we can have a biomass pellet plant. That's another thing that we could add if we wanted to. We don't really have a place for that right now, unless we were to carve into the hillside even more. We're also struggling with our raw materials here, which is interesting. And also disappointing, because reasonably, they should be able to drive this over here. For whatever reason, though, this is being dumped, which to me means that we likely don't have enough storage over here. So they're actually coming over and dumping this off over here. I'm going to set this one to empty and see if that helps us. Otherwise, we may just need to add another storage facility over here. For Ojibwa Organics, we again don't have, we're basically right where we need to be in terms of number of jobs available here. If we were going to be able to level to the next level, we're going to need to do something about that. This isn't going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and I was going to build a road, but instead of letting the road guide our development, let's let the development guide our roads. I think that's a trap that people fall into, is they will make a gigantic city with a huge grid. That's just not the way that places develop. So we're going to go with it with letting our development actually guide our roadway network here. Now, one of the things I saw that I actually really agreed with was that it would be nice to have some fruit fields here. And that may have even been more appropriate generally for this area. And let me know in the comments, should I get rid of this corn and instead have fruit fields? I do think that they look nice. They shouldn't be oranges. We'll go with apples, which makes a ton of sense in this part of the world. Apples or cherries. Pears are okay. And then I think that we do want some greenhouses. Yeah, so we'll go with some pears there and a greenhouse over here. I just wish it wasn't so tall. It's really, really large. Just extended that out a bit. Now, the nice thing about these is that I could come through again, place a few of these, and then I've got this awkward space right here that I need to work with. Not the end of the world. We can figure that out. So we'll swap this out to apples, this as well. And then I'm going to actually place some dummy apple trees. So we'll search for apples, unused asset, and we have the ability to add in a line of apples. So as long as we can space this in a similar way, we can make it look pretty good. There we go. That turned out really well. I like that. All right, we are going to add some water pipes over here underneath the road, right where they belong. There we go. That is feeling natural and good. We need some fences though, and I know it's going to be a little hokey to have the fences around here, and we'll just have things clipping and whatnot, but it's going to be fine. We are playing a interesting hybrid of vanilla and not vanilla, and this is what you get some things that aren't necessarily the most realistic, but you know what? It looks nice. Sometimes that is the way that what you're looking for, is just for a nice looking build that has a bit of realism, but at the same time, just makes you smile. And I think that that's what we're up to right now, is kind of finding that balance. Now it's interesting. You see underneath this tree where we've got the rows of pear trees, you can see there's a dirt asset or prop. That's got to be somewhere in this build. And for the tree planting, I kind of want to figure out what that is, because I think that we could use that to our advantage if we're going to use some of our vanilla assets. There we go. That is looking good. When we pop through here, that feels legitimate. Look at that. That is a level of detail that I never realized was there. These farmers coming through here, boxes, they're loading the boxes in, taking a break, popping a squat, and oh, maybe not that. Just having a good time. There we go. I'm digging it. Let's see what this looks like now when we take a look. All right, we have the potential here for almost 300 workers, which would absolutely get us to our next level. So to get there, we're going to need to increase our population. That's becoming very, very apparent to me. We are going to go back to our dirt roads. And I know you might be thinking to yourself, what are you doing? We just talked about this. We're done with dirt roads. Well, kind of. We're done with our dirt roads in town. But I think once you get into the rural areas in the forest, you absolutely have dirt roads. My grandfather lived out in the woods, and he lived on a dirt road street. And it's still a dirt road, and a gravel rather, and it's totally fine. There's not a lot of traffic there. In the winter, it becomes a solid surface. It's totally fine. You can plow it. In the summer, as long as there's not a lot of rain, it's completely fine too. It's a little hard on your car, but that's okay. Roads are expensive to maintain. Gravel roads, not so much. So that's what we're gonna go with. Let's pop in here, and we're gonna look at our contours, because we're going to follow our terrain and attempt to create some rural roads that make sense. And then we're going to separate our zoning quite a bit in these particular areas. I also want to see, can we buy a tile? We can. We're going to buy this one. And the reason we're going to buy that tile is we're going to develop up here in our little area. There's a lot of fairly flat ground through here. You see that there's some spaces here where that's like 10 meters of terrain pretty quickly. But there's a lot of area where we could develop homes. So let's get right to it. And for this, I'm going to keep angle on, and that's really about it. And what we're going to do is just try to find ways to snake through the terrain. Make sure none of it is really all that difficult to get around. And we need to have multiple ways around, because right now this is a gigantic cul-de-sac, super unsafe, and we don't want that to be the case. Now I think we actually have an opportunity here, and this might not be the most evident way to break the cul-de-sac, but now that we bought this tile, we have a lot of runway to begin our descent. So that's what we're going to do. I don't think that Ojibwa Organics would love that this is a local road. This would turn into a collector. Right now, this is a local road, but I think it's going to be an absolute necessity for us. So we're going to do that. It's really steep here, so we're going to use the tools at our disposal. So I want to use the slope terrain tool, and I want to level a pad. This pad is going to be where we really begin all of our work from. So we're going to grab the height here, right mouse click, level this out. And here's where we're going to descend to and rise up to as well. So we'll go to our slope terrain tool, right mouse click our top height, left mouse click and hold as we find a way up to that height. And I go over it a couple of times because then you can really ensure that it's a nice grading. So here we go. Now I didn't remove the trees and I am deeply, deeply regretful. I think I can upgrade this and now I can see him again. And I need to find the most logical way to get up there. And I think it's really going to be a switchback. So I'm going to make another flat pad for ourselves. We'll say right here. And then we'll level out right here. This will be where we start to go descend to our switchback. And let's right mouse click here, left click and hold up here. And then we'll do the exact same thing here. Right mouse click here, left click and hold. And that did not work right. So we may need to have two switchbacks here to make this work. So I'm going to grab somewhere in the middle, maybe right here. And we'll level this out. We'll call a bit of a mulligan on everything I just did there. Make this pad bigger because I think that was part of the problem. And then right mouse click again, left here, and it'll start to slope our way up. Much more reasonable. And then here, right mouse click again, and right on up. There we go. We've got our pad. We're going to need to do some work to reinforce this, but I think we're moving in a good direction. Let's snake this right back around. Our collision is off. And the reason for that is I want the trees to pop through. Now I'm going to turn my road guidelines back on. We're going to pop on over to the other side. I'll send this back down and around. Up here, then we're going to go into our curved road tool. Get that little line there and make our connection looking absolutely fantastic. Let's come through here. Get rid of these trees. Looking slick. Looking good. And now the moment of truth. Oh, I can already see some issues. We're going to grab this node, Control H down to this, and then we're going to need to use our slope tools. So we're going to fall back on Network Multi-Tool, but I wanted to make sure that we at least got to a place where I could feel comfortable knowing that we did what we could. And honestly, this isn't bad. The 12.9 is going to be spread out. We can live with 4.4. Here, same deal. We'll go a little bit lower, maybe 5. I'm good with 5. I'm trying to take all of your leads, and I'm trying to increase my level of chill about all of this sloping. So here we go, much better. And now I go back through one more time. Make sure that we don't have any trees popping up through here. Looking very good. We turn off our contours now. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Looking really good. I don't love that we've got trees in this cliff area, so I will get rid of those. But beyond that, oh, I like that a lot. Beyond that, I like that a lot. All right, I'm going to go through and upgrade all of these roads as well. We've got our collision off. We'll get our trees popping through again, and I'll get rid of those. Okay, little housekeeping sort of thing, but it is very important work. So now this isn't a cul-de-sac, so I'm feeling good about that, but we've got to find places for our homes. And we could do this whole area up. What we're going to do is add in a few small areas, because I think that's how this would happen. So generally, when I have worked in areas like this, you end up with kind of some mom and pop developers, a farmer, I've seen a dentist decide that they've got a little bit of land that they want to develop, and they'll come and they'll spend years just developing a small little neighborhood, and they end up living in the neighborhood. So it really means a lot to them. And for the towns, the small towns, the rural towns, not the towns like the incorporated communities, but the unincorporated communities, these sorts of developments mean the world to them, because this is the kind of development that could mean that a town remains solvent. Because most of the time, here's the interesting conundrum with a rural town. So the moment that development comes to the rural area, the community nearby wants to gobble it up. It says, you're using our city services or you want access, you must be incorporated. So when that happens, the town sees this little glimmer of opportunity that they're going to have some sort of development in their area. It'll increase their tax base. They'll be able to in turn take that money and build the roads in their town, because the town is responsible for that. And then the incorporated community takes it. So you end up with these really weird battles between incorporated and unincorporated areas, where you have towns fighting incorporation of their lands. It's an interesting scenario, and it's really unfortunate, because it means that neighbors end up not really being friends, which is unfortunate. Anyway, a little bit of an aside there. We are going to develop a little rural enclave right here. We'll give them some separation, but obviously the developer would want to make some money. They're going to reserve the choice lot for themselves, and in fact, they very well might have a cul-de-sac coming off from here and have a decent chunk of land. So why don't we do that? We'll have a cul-de-sac coming off. And rather than a cul-de-sac, we'll actually have a roundabout up here. So instead of using this to make a roundabout, we'll just have a house up here on this property. There we go. And we'll get rid of the trees popping up through here. Yeah, I'm digging that. What I'm not digging is the Art Deco house right here. I've got to do something with building themes. I had building themes manager in here, and then as all the upgrades started happening with the mods, I really was struggling with getting them to work in this build. We are going to do something about that, because I don't like the solution that we have right now, which is just simply allowing anything that wants to grow in to grow in. That's not a good solution. I'm going to pause for a second, because we're going to see a lot of abandonment, and I want to connect the power to this area. So I'm going to send a power line down the hill here. Okay, so we got power going down the hill. You can see the power line there. That's good. We also need water, so we're going to get that added as well. Now, obviously, in an area like this, normally you'd have well water. That would be the most likely solution here. At City Skylines, we don't have that. Truthfully, I don't think we want to do that anyway. That would be an absolute mess if we had our own water supply out in this area. The game is just not optimized for that. I do hope that, if there's a future City Skylines 2, that sort of thing would become a reality. Having separate water systems, I think, would be a really neat mechanic. Power systems too, garbage systems. That it really makes a regional community possible. There we go. And now we're connected up. So we do need to find an appropriate home for back here, and I think we're going to search for it. So we'll actually come through here. We'll get rid of Apple. We don't need that. And why don't we look for something that looks really high end? So I'm going to look 4x4. And we'll look for a low density eco. I'll expand this out. And I don't really have a strong opinion on which one it is. I guess level 5 is where my opinion is. There we go. We'll keep that here. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. I'd also, truthfully, I'd love to have a barn or something like that back here, but I don't want to see the freight traffic begin to be an issue back here, so we're going to avoid that. We're also going to need some power lines back here. And then we are going to clear some property specifically for this area. We'll fill in with some trees back here. And I've got collision off, so we're going to need to change that. Add that right back in. And there we go, developer's house. Absolutely amazing property. And maybe from here we want to preserve some views. So rather than just planting a bunch of trees without much thought to it, come up to the house. Yeah, and if we leave a little clearing there, maybe off this front area, you could have a table. You'd be able to look out your front window for sure and see some water, which I think they would absolutely want to do. And maybe they even clear a little bit right there to make it even better. Now here, I don't think you have the greatest of views. You might get some obstructed views here and there. We're not going to plant a ton in this area, but behind it, we're going to go hard. We're going to go hard. We're going to go real hard. Okay, and then we'll pop back through, and obviously we can't spend that amount of time on every single development, but it's fun to really kind of let yourself go wild. I'd love to come through here. I've got to do it. I really want to make this super detailed and have some fences through here. These are just fun little areas to work on. There we go. That feels good to me. That feels really good to me. So if we come through here now, you can see that we've got this little area. You got some yards here, some trees in those backyards. This ugly Art Deco building just popping up. It's okay. It's not ugly, but it doesn't fit here. So let's look at this. Is it? I don't know if this is one of the Art Deco. We're going to get rid of that. That can't be here. Sorry. And I'm okay with that even being a complete copy of this one. They'll level up eventually. It's good enough. I love this. This is great. All right. So that didn't really move the needle in terms of population, but let's take a look at what we need to do to get to our next level. So we need to get to big city. So that is another 500 population. So if we look at each of these homes, one household, 3 people, you start to realize that we need a few hundred homes. So let's go ahead and we're going to add some more roads through here. And we could start to put some homes directly on this road as well. But I want to think of where we're going to come off for a couple of these. So this area is fairly flat. So we're going to run some homes up here. Okay, so I added a couple of cul-de-sacs back here. We're going to add in some more rural homes, another small rural subdivision. So this is going to be a little more challenging, and we might need to manually place some of these, and I'm totally fine with that. The reason is you see that we've got a lot of our zoning just kind of breaking up here. Totally fine. Let's go ahead. We'll remove some of our trees in this area. We'll plant them back in at the end. And basically, I think through this entire build, anywhere where I'm doing a cul-de-sac, I think that we're going to come through and manually plop our trees. The other thing is, you might notice that I'm having some issues here with this forestry brush. I'm not adjusting the forestry brush right now, so I'm going to not worry about it being off the screen. I've increased the size of the UI because of some feedback that I received in the previous episode that was too small for some folks on mobile devices, and I totally want to make sure that I'm able to accommodate everyone who wants to see this, so that's the way that we're going to deal with this. I want to, again, go with some of our new mid-century modern buildings. There we go. So again, I've got our random button configured to question mark, so I can just pop through here and get different sizes. I think we want to go with things that are just a little bit bigger. So we'll go with at least 4 wide, and then we'll place some of these through here. And I'm going to give some decent separation to these buildings. Okay, and I think that's pretty good. We're going to rotate this one around and put this on the cul-de-sac. And then for this, we're going to move this to the cul-de-sac bulb. I added a couple just kind of at the ends so that I could do this. There we go. And I think that we've spread those quite a bit. We do need to get water and power down here as well. And there we go. We're all set up with water and power. We do have to use Bob, and I am going to have a stream one of these days where we go and do more Bob work, but I really don't like the idea of there being these palm trees right here. So as I see these buildings get placed and I see palm trees showing up in there, we're going to go through here and just replace those. And I just like the MP9s. These are those new trees that Mr. Miyagi put together. So we should absolutely, or Mr. Mason, not Mr. Miyagi, put together for these. So we should absolutely go through and just replace these when we can. There we go. I think that's all of them. Oh, nope, a couple more. There we go. Now it fits in here, and I'm much happier. This one's upset. Force the downgrade. We could add in a rural park here, and I do have level control here. That might be another way to handle this, would be to actually create a rural subdivision. Why don't we do that? We'll just add in a little rural subdivision. This is the town of Couillard. So that'll, in this, we'll have the maximum level 3, and then we're going to force a downgrade twice. And that should resolve all of our value issues. Because they're all unhappy. So I'm going to speed this up for a second, and we should see all these go away. Did not do the trick. I will set this to 2 and then force a downgrade again. These should all be level 1 now, and they're not. Okay, I think that this is honestly a good lesson for us. Probably should have gone through here and made the adjustment first in terms of having the district over here with the maximum level, because it's creating lots of problems. I also found one more palm tree because, of course. Okay, now we should be good, and we are getting incredibly close to our population milestone. Really, it's just a couple more houses, and I think that we are going to accommodate that just by adding in some random houses along the road here. Let's get rid of the trees. And this is an ideal location. It already has utilities, which, you know, if this were an urban development, we would absolutely be looking for that. This is rural, but still, I think it's a good practice to have that in there. I'm gonna get rid of all of this, and we're just gonna go with some of our low density buildings. I'm gonna go with 4x4s. This is rural, and to me, that makes some good sense. We'll select a building. Okay, I've just reached the next milestone and inadvertently clicked away. Let's go back in there and see what we've unlocked. We're a big city, 3,200 population. We got a liberal arts campus. We've got a whole bunch of new buildings that are going to be very valuable to us. The crematorium, water treatment plant, cryopreservatory, and that's about it. I guess we'd have a gigantic track and field as well. So some of these are really valuable. The crematorium in particular is going to be very, very important for us. And it's nice to know that we can create a campus now as well if we want to. So let's look at our industry areas, because that was why we started all of this expansion to begin with. And actually, before we get there, we needed to clean up the last little bit of work that we did over here. So first of all, we're going to feather some of this out. Let's go ahead. We're going to make this brush size big, make our strength not so big, and then we'll come through and just smooth out our terrain down here. We're going to leave this. This is totally fine. And then we're going to come through here and add some landscaping. Okay, and with the landscaping here, what I wanted to accomplish was to create some yards for these places, yet still have some buffering and separation from the other houses. So just thinking about what a yard might look like for some of these folks and providing the space for that. Now here, what I'm trying to do is provide the space between the homes. We could obviously do a much better job with this, and I think at some point I might leave that for a stream though. That to me is the kind of fun thing that I can do while chatting with all of you. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like my idea here worked. I've got to figure out that advanced leveling control. It's obviously not doing what I was hoping. Clearly, this could be an issue of when you plop it, you've just got to manually do the work yourself. That's fine if that's what we have to do. It'd just be good to have that idea going in right up front. That said, easy enough to convert them and make them work. So this has allowed our industries to improve, at least Ojibwa Organics. We are now at a level 2 industry, and we're near a level 3 industry, which is unfortunate. Right here at our lumber company, we're getting close. So I'm going to do something rather hokey, but I think it's going to help us out. So I'm just going to clone a couple of these. Because we're going to redo these, I'm not overly concerned about it. Not the height of realism to redo it, but we're going to live with it. I want to add a few more so there's more jobs in here, because the game's going to backfill some of that as a result. And we're going to start to see our number of employees go up. Slow march of progress is not fast enough for me. Let's improve a couple of things here. We'll improve our logistics. We're going to just enable all the policies. We're going to make this a really lean and effective operation. Obviously, we're going to need to extend our water over as well. And the other thing that this is going to do is make this a more desirable job. So now we see that our number of employees is again starting to go up. We're just a couple away. We're going to let this sit for a second and we should get there. And I feel like the game is toying with me at this point. We're 2 away. We're going to... Serenity now. We're going to just make it happen. One more of these and that should do the trick for us. Right away, we get to level 3. Very good. Pops us right over the threshold. Now, the reason I even cared about this is really because I wanted to unlock some of our larger tree plantations. And now we have our small, we also have our mediums. So this will give us some more variety. And we're going to basically call a mulligan on all of these. And now that we've removed all of those, and obviously I could have saved them, that would have been fine. But let's start fresh. And this is really a response to that concern that we weren't varying these up enough. So I'll pop through here, and these are a nice long field. And we'll leave some separation where we can have these long ones we're going to. So I had to extend this out just a little ways at the end of the world. And now we are really struggling with storage. So we're going to need to find a place to have a large storage yard. Truthfully, we may need to call a mulligan on some of what we just did. Yeah, we're going to have to eliminate some of these. So we went a little hard, and sometimes you pay the price. We're paying the price right now. So there we go. Now we've got a whole variety of these tree farms. Again, I'm going to go and see which of these look the best. Interestingly, if we look here, we're not seeing these convert to the new ones, so that's interesting to me. So apparently the small ones right here, the beech trees adopt the look of the oak tree. Here, the beech tree is a beech tree. That's fine. I'm going to convert many of these, actually all of them, to be beech trees. Not because I think it's really realistic to only plant one tree, but because I think that the oak trees are going to look really good through here. And this is a choice that I'm making because of aesthetics. So that's what we'll do. And then we're going to bob around. So we've connected this, made a loop, Control B, bob, come through here. We see we've got 3 different tree plantations. And we get these 2 different options in here, apparently, of bushes that we're seeing, or trees that we're seeing. So I'll just convert that to be an oak, and that takes care of every single one of these. There is also a bush through here, which I didn't apply it. Always something you got to remember to apply it. Now there's also this bush. I'm not overly concerned about the bush. That's completely fine. Now through here, I can use my brush. I'll increase the size of it. The strength's already at the top, so I should be able to just pull this through and really load up on our other trees. And look at all of this crazy traffic that we have right now. We're going to need to do something about this. The problem is this road right here is now functioning as an arterial. This road is functioning as a collector, and it's also functioning as a local road. This is an industrial road. So it's serving both through access and loading. Very difficult to avoid in these builds. And some of it you have to accept, I think. But a big problem is we don't have a lot of connectivity through here. So we're going to need to find some more paths out of this area so that we can stop concentrating all of our traffic onto this one road. That's really the concern here, but I don't know that we're going to do much about that today. I think we need to focus on traffic generally soon in an episode. But I do think that this looks a lot better, and I really thank you for your feedback, Salisha. I think this looks a lot better. A lot better, so thank you. All right, I do want to take a look over here to see if there's any way that we could get this cranked up. Again, we just don't have a very large industry. We do now have larger assets available for ourselves, though. So let's go and check those out. And I think for some of these, we're going to need to just bring this into the community. And I'm going to hold off on this, actually. I think that we need to give Ojibwa Organics the time it needs and the care it needs if we're going to expand this correctly. So we'll leave that. We made a bit of an improvement, but I think that to get to level 3, which at a minimum, that's kind of where I want to be with these industries, we are going to wait until the next one. We're also going to think more about our supply chain here. We're outputting a lot of our forestry products as raw goods, which is fine. You can do that, but I'm not sure that it's the most appropriate way to handle this. So with that, we clearly missed a fire over here. I think that we are going to take stock of what we've done. We've done a lot today, and we'll have a brief city tour. Okay, and we're getting to the end of our day, but there's a few things that we need to fix, and these are all based on feedback from the previous episode. So the very first thing, there were 2 comments that discussed what the service station and restaurant actually is, talking about how in Japan, this would actually be kind of more of a way station than a gas station, would potentially have EV charging and be a restaurant. So I've added this here to be a gigantic gas station, and we do not actually have one. So I'm going to come back over here, and this will be a temporary fix. It actually went out of business. So we're going to clone it. It went out of business because that's a bad location. We're going to bring it over here. I'm going to get rid of one of our EV charging stations, which might be a controversial move, but I do think it would make some sense. So there we go. Now we've got a gas station, highly visible from up here. Now, another comment was that folks up here need a place to park. We've got a lot of parking down here. So let's make this daytime again. I'm going to add a path to get down. We're going to make a path down. And I'm going to use anarchy. Okay, so here we're going to say that there is a shared parking agreement with the service station. And what that means is that these folks that work here can go park in this parking lot and access and be able to use this trail to get down there. So let's smooth some of this out. We're going to use our slope terrain tool. Here we go. Nice little slope to get down there. And I think that that's pretty good. And then the very last thing that was mentioned is that we really didn't do anything here with the Bluebird. So we've got this, and there were a number of comments that wanted this just to be spun around so that the Bluebird would face the parking lot. I could see that being a thing. The only problem is that I can't remove this sign, or I don't believe that I can. Let's see if I can search for that. I do have the ability to do it. So my main concern here was that the diner would care more about its sign than basically anything else. So what I'm going to do is go into Bob and actually sever the sign from this. And I don't actually believe that I can remove this sign. So that's unfortunate. That would have been something I would really have preferred to do. So if I could remove this sign, I would have just placed another one. I think I'm just going to, well, I'm going to spin this around like was suggested so many times. But we're adding a second sign, if that's the case. Because this sign is fine for folks coming in this way, but it's not good at all for people coming off the highway. So we are going to move this sign because I think that they would absolutely require this. Put it right here. Keep it out of the right of way. This will be a private road, so that's okay. You can have the sign nice and close there. We've got our bluebird sign. We are going to, now that we have the ability to, we're going to landscape a bit back here. And the idea with landscaping back here is now you have your trash and things of that nature in the rear of the building. So if you were driving by and if you didn't have landscaping, that's what you'd see is a bunch of trash and stinky, not so fun things. And then in the front here, I'm going to take your advice again, and I want to add some seating. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we've got some seating here. You could come and enjoy your food outside, and I think that is a great addition to this area. So with that, I think we're going to leave it here. We've made some good improvements to the build. There was another request in this area, and that was police and fire coverage, but I think we need to give that a little bit more thought, and that might even mean that we're developing over here a little bit, and I think that that's going to be something that's important for the success of this area in the future. But for today, we're going to leave it here. We've made some good progress, and I hope that you've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed building it with you. If you like this, please consider hitting the like button. If you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.